For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Hello and welcome to episode 78 of That's a Shame. I purposefully altered my intonation there to keep you, and I mean the listener, guessing. I'm Isaac.
That is good. It wasn't to try and motivate yourself to give you something to do, because you've been a bit...
I don't need that.
You've been a bit flat.
Is
what I'm going to say in the build-up.
What, in the build-up to today's episode, not just for the whole year of our
No.
podcasting.
Well, I suppose for the entirety of year 2 of That's a Shame,
It's been pretty
pretty
Yeah,
poor.
well, I've lost
late on the
interest.
first episode of this series 2 or whatever
Sorry
it is.
about that. Look, here's why it was. Well, partly we didn't do it in advance because we almost never do, but we are trying to get that done, and we'll have to do it in advance soon because I'll be away for a while. But also, a dear friend who I've known for let's say a while.
I've never heard you mention them.
Have you not? No. Well, I keep all my friendship groups segmented, as you know. That's good, isn't it? That's
very
healthy. Don't cross the streams, they say. Different Facebook accounts for different friends. I don't do that. That would be mental. He was moving to Mexico soon for an indefinite span of time. So off I went to Clapham. That's far. That's the exact
such a
other end of the
long
fucking
way, yeah.
Northern Line. It's nice having the tube here, but it's not nice to have to sit on the same one train for it was hours.
It's really weird, isn't it, to kind of go in and you're like going through all these places where ordinarily you get off, you're thinking, oh God, look, there's Charing Cross. Remember Charing Cross?
God, I love that place.
Bank. Terrible place.
Can't get enough of that.
Oh, bit of London Bridge maybe, or Waterloo.
And then you have to do that thing where you mentally reset to be like, oh, let's just pretend the journey started here.
Yeah.
And continues. Are you good at that?
Stockwell. Here we are, Stockwell. I once
Nothing good there.
had to get the train because Dan used to live in Clapham, didn't he? And I was getting the train there after work one Friday. I was going out for the weekend, and I was reading a book and I had my headphones in while I was on the Northern Line, and so I didn't hear any announcement. But what happened was I kind of noticed that the train hadn't moved in a while, and then I looked up and I was the only person on the train.
Everyone
So
else
I thought I was maybe I was like in the Matrix or something.
Yeah.
Maybe this was it. This is how I get inducted into the Resistance. Of course, I'd be telling
You're
you
waiting
now.
for
I
Lawrence
don't
Fishburne.
care. I'll very happily be a human battery
Forever.
and just live my life.
Interesting. Cowardly.
But
Yeah.
also, it's just less effort, really.
I know. Aliens, they got to get power.
Exactly.
They got to get power.
The robots. That's it. That's your people.
Are they robots or aliens or both?
Robots.
Yeah, both. Cool.
Anyway, so I looked around, and then I realised that what had happened was it had changed from a train that went all the way to Morden, which is like the southernmost point, and actually
Static
instead it was
Museum of Transport. This is what it used to be like, complete with oblivious man.
oblivious man
so
illegally
lifelike.
drinking a beer. And so instead of going to Morden, it was now just going to Stockwell. But Stockwell, for those that don't know, on the Northern Line is where the two branches
Converge.
meet. And so what had happened was everyone had gotten off and the train was turning around. So it was going up and then
I
turning
see.
around to go back up the other way. So then it just moved for a while,
no.
then stopped in the tunnel. Then all the lights went out, and I was just in the dark in the tunnel going, fuck,
That's like
what's
that horror
this?
film Creep, isn't it? The
Yeah,
one
it is.
where he gets chased around by
Not zombie, some kind of
mad
like
cannibal.
mad
Surgeon.
sort of,
He's a surgeon, isn't he?
Well, I don't know if he was a
Not
surgeon or if
Judging by that room.
It felt like he was the result of some poor surgery.
Yes, maybe on himself.
There were some kind of babies in jars, and he looks like a bigger version of a baby from a jar.
He'd outgrown his jar.
And now he was looking for a train instead.
Biggest moving jars there are. That's what we call trains.
So yeah, I was in the turnaround phase. It was very, very odd.
What about if that film were coming out, or any horror film based on the underground, call it Test Tube? And it's about you're being experimented on in the tube, the underground. That's an idea for free there, screenwriters.
Wow, I was going to say you've
is
been
good.
listening to that podcast maybe
And-
simultaneously too much and yet not enough.
Really found that sweet spot there. Well, I'm glad to hear that you made. How did that end?
Because we were talking about going to Clapham.
No. How did that end?
All that happened was the train kind of pulled out of the tunnel very slowly going the opposite direction, and there were about 100 people waiting to get on,
And they all had the
at
same
rush
face.
hour, and they just were staring.
reigns.
They were just staring at me like I was in like a zoo. I was just some mad guy, the
you
only
came with
fucker on
the
the
train.
train.
Yeah.
They're like, I must have looked like one of those people who goes through the carriage looking for money.
There's been an interesting uptick in, given the heat wave recently, now that I get the tube every day, which I've never done before, because although I lived in London for like 10 years before, I was in South, which doesn't have the tube. We have the DLR, which is much nicer. And it drives itself, which is a real wonder to behold. But on the tube, as is the case in most like metro systems, New York subway, perhaps the epitome, you're looking at a ratio of about one freak per tube. There'll be someone doing something outlandish on every tube.
Yeah.
More often than not in your carriage, but that's just a probabilities game. With the heat wave, there's been a real surge.
Yeah, it's not saying that this mad dog's an Englishman. It's actually mad Englishmen.
And even
mad
madder
dogs.
But there were people like I got on a carriage. Sometimes, normally like it's fine, but sometimes I'm just not in the mood to be even if there's like a 2% chance that someone comes and talks to me, I'll just move carriage because like I'm listening to a podcast. I'm coming up with big ideas like test tube.
Oh, yeah.
And I need time to think and for those to gestate and blossom into something good. So I can't be sitting there waiting for
Clearly,
some mad
you were
person
interrupted.
I think I might have been actually. That's why I bring the uptick in because it was still in R&D.
Yeah, something there. There's something there.
So there was a guy like dancing really jerkily like a marionette that was being controlled by a like wind turbine or something, just sort of like all over the place. Everyone's just sort of looked around like resignedly like, no, I wish he'd not be doing that. So at the next stop I just got off and went into the next carriage. I was like, this will be fine. There was only another man doing an almost identical dance. It was like they didn't look like they knew each other, nor did they look like they were aware of each other. And it might have been one of those three Christs of Ypsilanti things where if they'd both met and seen each other dancing, there'd have been some kind of chaos as a result of like, whoa, well, that's kind of my thing that you're stepping on. The other guy would be like, well, no, I've been developing this for a while.
I've been doing this since before time itself.
Since when I was the Christ. And it was just like every carriage that you went into, there was another man just sort of like shouting to himself. And then there was a guy dressed in entirely like dressing gown and then giant boots, just sort of standing in the corner like the Blair Witch, mumbling. Just I can't be doing with that right now. So the freak to tube ratio is now freak to carriage. FTC rather than FTT.
I don't know what it is about me, but I am often turned to, even in groups of complete strangers, to be the
mediator,
to talk to the freaks,
the freak
or just the people who are not adhering to traditional tube decorum. I think I helped some old woman with a bag getting off the tube, and then sat down, and a couple of people did that. Sort of smile and nod. Like,
well done, dear. I was going to help, but I could see that you had it under control.
Then the carriage became very crowded all of a sudden, and then this guy got on, this very loud American guy who was a bit mental, but very nice.
Yeah.
But he was just seemed to be shouting generally for advice. He's like, "How do you get to Wood Green? Anyone? How do I get to Wood Green?"
Oh no!
And
did you start clapping when the train took off?
No, but what happened was about 20 heads all turned in unison to me. Like a kind of, go on, you helped that old woman. Maybe you can, maybe you could deal with him. And so, thankfully, I know where Wood Green is, so I was able to
get on the tube that you're on.
I was like, you get off at 2 stops time, and you get the Piccadilly line, the dark blue one.
Yeah.
Pickle what? North. Okay, so I get off not the next one, in 2 time.
It's not working. You're going to have to come with me, son. Let me get your cell number.
So then he was like, thank you very much, sir. And that seemed to be that. And then
it wasn't.
we got, everyone again sort of did a similar.
Well done. I don't actually know Wood Green too well, or I would have jumped in.
Yeah, Piccadilly's not my thing.
City Mapper doesn't work
I'm a Victoria Line guy, you know. And we got to the next station. He was like, so here? No.
Stop.
No, not here. No. And then, like, we eventually got to King's Cross, and he was just kind of standing there chatting to some people, and I had to instigate and go, no, here, here. Oh, right, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
The blue one. And then just got off and ran away.
That man's never ever going to
ever made it
out of the station. There was another guy who came and sat down who was like inappropriately drunk for 3 o'clock in that very, like, probably if he were in a supermarket at the moment, he'd have his shirt off because of the weather.
Right.
That sort of quality. And he sat down. A great guy.
No.
A great guy that we can all, befriend and trust. And he sat down opposite this black guy and started talking to him about, first of all, his tan, which was
good.
An interesting
Very Prince Philip.
And he had to say, he was peppering his conversation with, but I'm not a racist.
Not racist.
Not one of the, just wondering like what it's like for you guys. Like, do you? Because obviously, like, look at me. I've gone all like red and I was just wondering. And he like touched this guy's shoulder, and the guy went whoop, like that. It made such a weird noise. He was also like stacked. So then he started asking him like what his workout routine was, and asking if he could like get on board with like his trap routine, like ask him if he skipped shoulder day, all this lingo. The guy, I don't think he said more than about 3 words. It's amazing when people are in that state of inebriation / freakdom, where they can sustain a monologue.
An entirely one-sided
Because if he was
conversation.
if he were completely sober, he'd probably have run out of material. But
Yeah.
there's something about that state of mind where you can just
I
splurge out words.
I went to the pub yesterday, and I was there to watch a football match, and there was a guy in there who, it's an Irish pub on a sunny Sunday. You're expecting people to already be quite drunk in there, but he was unintelligible.
Good.
And he was sat at the bar, and there was a seat next to him, and he sort of looked over at me and smiled, and I was like, all right. And he went, just give my mate's seat.
Oh,
Like, I was
Bless
like,
you.
I said, I'm not sitting. I'm just getting a drink. And I was getting into the pints.
nice.
Yeah, and he went, that's what he's been doing. That's what he's been doing. Just pints.
The barman.
Whiskey. Just thought, what's your position? Have you not? Because if not, then you really need help, because you've had
having a brain episode.
several simultaneous strokes all over the brain.
Back-to-back strokes.
Yeah, and I kind of like managed to get my drink and move away without there being any more real conversation, because you can't get suckered into that, or
That would
else
be the
that's
end
it.
of your day.
So I went and sat down, and 5 minutes later, he came and sat down next to me in a very big pub, very big open pub at the table next to me. And he didn't talk to me, but he did put his drink on my table rather than his.
Oh, just like sowing the seeds for
Yeah.
friendship.
And I just
imagine has
could
blossomed.
not look at him. I just kept my
you
eyes
had.
firmly on the screen. That is tacit approval.
Yeah, if you'd made eye contact for but a second, that's come and let's be my best man.
You wanted to have a chat, yeah?
I've got a lot to say.
And then up came like 5 people who seemingly knew him, and they were like, "Oh, how you doing? Yeah."
Who's your friend?
Yeah, I was so worried. I made sure that we were very clear that I was not his friend and that I wasn't someone they wanted to know, because I just
Do you start dancing erratically?
I started watching the screen even more intently, and there were a couple of them stood in the way, and I didn't say anything. I just waited until one of them looked over, and then I just looked quite angrily and like shifted my head a bit, like some kind of angry drunk in the
jerking them
corner.
out the way.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah, we'll move out the way." And thankfully, they kind of all moved over to a different
That
table.
standoff
But it's just
vibe works.
those moments are just—they're so singular that at that moment in time, like you say,
It's on a knife edge.
the smallest thing, and you could suddenly find yourself.
Well,
dead.
at least in that case,
Or
it
at
was being, he was just being friendly. Do you remember that? We've never told the story of that guy on the train to Danges.
Oh my god!
In Croydon.
That was terrifying.
Because whereas that guy was gargling nonsense in a kind of friendly there was a camaraderie there. This
Yeah.
guy was sitting with an empty wine bottle, talking about how he's going to smash everyone's heads in.
Yeah, well,
on an otherwise almost entirely empty train.
yeah, and he was talking nonsense in a very different way. He was doing it in an almost kind of
it was like
Beckettian sense.
it was like an incantation of just
yeah, and that you know that poem, those nonsense poems. One day in the middle of the night, two dead boys got up to fight, back to
I
back.
thought they were men.
Faced each other, drew their swords and shot each other.
No,
A deaf policeman heard the noise and came and arrested two dead boys.
I've never heard that last bit before. Interesting.
But it was like that. It was some kind of weird cacophony of absolute absurdism. He was talking to / threatening a guy who was sat opposite him, but not in the seat opposite him, behind the seat.
So he was like
opposite him.
talking. His hate was just spilling out through opaque obstacles.
I 100% believe he envisaged the man in that chair. Though.
I think
he was.
so, yeah.
Yeah, he was talking straight to that chair.
And he threw his keys at him or something at some point.
Yeah, and he
Or the other guy's
and
keys.
he was saying something like,
He was calling you strawberry blonde.
and then he said something about the Pope needing a pacemaker or something.
That wasn't a good thing.
No.
Like, I got the impression that was, that might have been...
Yeah,
the
it was like the Pope's a coward because he has a pacemaker or something. It was just
so low, and like he was drunk, but that kind of like his eyes were closing with just vengeance.
And there was such a very raw sense that all three of us spent the whole tube journey kind of like fists clenched, ready at any second to just fight.
Because it's also one of those situations that is like so delicate, and I'm sure there are training manuals on like that kind of situation if you're working
To
the police
defuse
stuff,
and whatnot.
because standing up and going elsewhere is aggressive.
Oh yeah,
to people
that
like
is
that.
it. That's the trigger
like
sometimes.
what you're not sitting next to me, like what's wrong, why not, and that would kick off.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's really very little you can do apart from just imagine that anything else is happening.
Yeah.
And long for the dancing marionette man to make an appearance, dance him off the fucking train.
At least act as a distraction,
Yeah,
like jangling your
flaming
keys
straight
in front
into
of him.
Well, that's all horrible.
Speaking of mentals, though,
Go on.
Gone and got some. Well, it's not content, is it? It's just a fun
Is
thing that I wanted
anything?
to read. It's just something I wanted to read because it's something that I know you'd enjoy, and I get the sense it's something our listeners as well would enjoy.
Yeah.
That was a tweet I saw the other day that was someone saying, "Honestly, can't make up the stuff my friend Neve does. She paid a random lassie 10 quid for a psychic reading online,
Okay.
and got this." Right? So the first thing that I'd like to point out is that the psychic's name is Brodie McDougall,
That doesn't exist.
which is already
That's
amazing.
like a fake name that a 6-year-old would give when they're trying to go and see
Yeah.
a PG film by themselves.
And this reading takes place via Facebook Messenger.
Wow.
So she sends her a tenner, and then we start.
That's good money for what I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm going to assume is bullshit.
Well, let's
Well,
let the
we'll
listeners
see,
judge
we'll see.
themselves.
Yeah.
So she says, "Thank you. Send me a photo of you."
Oh.
It's one of those readings. Now I'm going to show you the photo. It's a bit blurry because I can't expand the actual photo. But tell me what you see and kind of your first impressions.
Neve, she's probably 20s, blonde, just very standard looking person. Mm-hmm. Nothing stands out, like, apart from the fact that because it's a bit blurry, I might, if I were a psychic, say, it means you're going to turn into a dead person soon or something like that.
The
Or be
blur.
like, you're being haunted by some bricks.
So this is the first block of the reading.
Mm-hmm.
You're into beauty and hair.
Okay.
You love having a natural tan. You're feeling fresh. You love banana and chocolate milkshakes, smoothies. You always have teeth whitening for your teeth.
For your teeth.
You want to
rather than like for other bones.
and you want to settle down with someone.
Wow, okay.
Now, what I enjoy about this in particular, this first section of the reading, is that it's not anything psychic. Like, I'm assuming that people pay for insight.
that they don't currently have.
Yeah, whereas I would know if I already liked milk. I wouldn't be going,
Wow,
that
fuck,
was
I
worth
do.
it.
Well, I've bought one
I
every
am
day.
into hair
for
and
last year.
beauty. I am feeling fresh.
Isn't into hair such a banal thing? It doesn't mean anything. Like everyone who has hair is at some extent into it.
Yeah.
Like into continuing to have it, into changing how it looks, into
Yeah.
like washing it.
You're into
So
skin.
silly. You love skin.
Now, Neve comes back with the question I was thinking.
There's a back and forth.
Which was, could you tell me anything spiritual, please? And then Brodie doesn't respond.
Oh dear.
We've no sense of how long for, but long enough that Neve comes straight back. She says, "Sorry, can you send me my £10 back, please? As this is obviously fake." Haha. Which I quite like the idea that someone who is gullible enough to give someone £10 over the
Facebook
internet
Messenger.
for a psychic reading also has standards for what's clearly fake and what isn't. It's not fake. I'm in the middle of doing it, says Brodie.
Doing it.
Doing
the psychic.
Not. She hasn't quite finished typing it. Just
okay.
it. To which Neve then responds to this, what she's just called an obvious fake. Oh, okay,
That
sorry.
explains it.
Sorry, says Brodie. Takes a lot of energy, honey. Your auntie died? Question mark. Just because you posted that comment, Neve said, I assumed, haha. Sorry, never had one of these readings before. And then obviously gets the message about the auntie and says, no.
Swing and a miss.
Someone died that was close to you, bought you Easter eggs all the time.
All the time.
And then in the next message, and hair clips.
That's so specific.
I honestly don't know anyone that done that, says Neve. Then come two, the second of which is my favourite thing any psychic has ever said.
Okay.
Someone was close to you at a young, I'm assuming age. You went through a bad past.
Oh, about past.
Kiss. No response from Neve. So Brodie comes in with, you're always bored.
Wow.
You're always bored is the most beautiful piece of spiritual insight ever.
To think that a ghost told her that as
Yeah.
well.
The she's always
fucking
bored.
when the Easter egg lady's not giving her clips.
Yeah, says Brodie. I see a baby.
Okay.
Neve sends her a link to refund her on PayPal, saying, "Can you send me my £10 back, please? I see you are going to be pregnant." "That's impossible," says Neve. "How is it? I can't have children." Brodie comes back with, "You adopted one."
Oh, that's the same.
Neve comes back, and as Neve is attempting to reply, Brodie comes in with, "Or you will." At which point, the £10 is finally and once again demanded back. So, I mean,
I think we should do one of these. I like these.
I think so too.
I've been trying to get a psychic on the podcast, and when I use the word trying, I mean wanting,
Thinking
but
about.
haven't put into action. Because
No.
it would just be difficult to. We'd have to have them in our house and specifically in my room, and I'm not.
We could do it in the living room.
Yeah, I mean, but even so, like, I don't want a psychic to know where I live
No.
at all, because they must be mad.
And you never know, they might send ghosts after us.
That's the problem, isn't it? Because that's like,
Mind
she's
you,
going to get that
We've
£10
already
back.
got ghosts.
That's
The
true.
ghosts were at it this morning.
What, locking the doors?
No, more. They've become poltergeists
What
now,
have they done
probably.
now these days?
Bryony was in the bathroom and apropos of nothing, like one of those little glass candle holders
Yeah.
just flew off the thing into the door and shattered on the floor.
So what you're saying is the psychics know that
Says-
we're maligning them now.
They knew that I was going to. And then I'm always bored.
Brodie McDougal. She knew you were into hair.
Broody McDougal.
That's amazing. Okay, look, I've got a few of these questions for us to,
Okay.
to smash through there. Would you rathers?
Now this is a form of insight,
Yeah.
isn't it?
What, into us?
Yeah.
I'd say so.
It's more than Brodie's ever going to give anyone.
I would imagine if Brodie had just replaced her entire spiel with Here's
Would you
some
rather
questions.
adopt a child or never be bored?
Banana ice cream milkshake. Would you rather? So they start. What I've learned, these are from the subreddit Would You Rather, which I recommend you have a look at because it's very odd. All the top voted ones are really bad as well. But I think there seems to have been evidence of like a civil war in their community where all their top posts are people complaining that the top posts are not good enough, which kind of defeats its own stance. But here's some that I found. Would you rather get $50 an hour for browsing Reddit, and we can sub that in with anything that you use?
Okay.
Instagram, Twitter,
Yep.
Foursquare, any of the ones that geocache,
Oh, wow.
TripAdvisor.
Yeah.
There's an app for that. Or get $1,000 every time you push someone to the ground. And I'm going to add that it can't be a consensual. So it couldn't be like, if you got that wish, we couldn't just agree, you get to push me over and I get half. But I don't also demand 60% as the
of course you
pushed,
would, yeah.
at least.
Well, that's why you certainly wouldn't be getting any.
So you get $50 an hour for just doing something menial, like browsing a website.
So let's before we attempt any kind of serious answer, let's do the maths. So I'd have to browse for 20 hours
Yep.
to make the same amount
Pushing
as
one
pushing
innocent to
one
the ground.
innocent person.
I'm going to
to
also
the ground.
add, as well as it being non-consensual pushing to the ground, you also can't forewarn them. So you can't be like,
Oh, sorry, just got to shove you.
yeah, you can't be doing that.
Right, okay, so I just have to go. Can I apologise and explain afterwards?
You can apologise, you can't explain.
I can apologise.
Yeah.
Imagine if someone just came up, pushed you to the ground, and then looked at you and went, I'm really sorry,
and you're like,
but
okay,
I
but
can't
why did
explain.
you do that? I'll say again, I'm very sorry.
I would like to reiterate the
What
sign.
about this? Let me pitch you this idea. 2 birds, 1 stone. You pick the pushing option and you become, in your test tube manner, the official person who goes and pushes mad people straight off the tube. But no, counterpoint, mad people need to travel.
Yeah.
So, and that could actually aggravate the situation.
It could actually make it a lot worse because imagine if you
Counterpoint
pushed
again.
them, if you kind of like waited until the doors do that beep 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 beep
Yeah.
beep when they're about to shut,
Oh,
and you push
no.
them out,
But someone gets
then
trapped
someone
and the door
someone
reopens.
elbows and they open again. You've got to then
An angered
either
mad.
push them back, but they're bloodlusted now, and there's no.
And also, there's a new rule that you can't do the same person twice, so you're not going to get $2
for
grand for
fuck's
pushing
sake!
them again.
So basically, I'm getting $500
You're
a
pushing them for
push.
free now.
Bloody hell! Do they? Is it incumbent upon me to make sure that they hit the deck as well?
Look, it
if
doesn't
I-
have to be. It doesn't have to be really violent.
But if I push them and it turns out that they've got an abnormally like
Centre of
great,
gravity.
sense of
They're a
balance,
martial
and they
artist.
don't fall over, they like stumble and then look back.
They do.
I get,
How about this? They do a backflip out of it.
do I get anything then?
You
Is
get
it
beaten up by a very agile
fuck.
karate expert.
Absolute
By the
ninja.
sounds of it. So that doesn't work for
so
you.
they do have to. Do I get? Is it in any way kind of done on a kind of hierarchy? So do I get less if I push over a kid or more?
Well, neither, because I think the more would be the better option. Like you could have loads of layers to it, where like if no one else is watching, do they make a sound? No, you get less maybe. Whereas if you pushed over a kid and their like burly dad was watching, and the mum's carrying
It's
like
10
a kitchen
grand.
knife, that. But that starts to sound like someone setting a bounty on.
If I do one push that knocks over 3 people, do I get thrice the money?
Interesting, you get a bonus. You get a style bonus.
I get a style bonus
Double
of
50. You get half again actually. So
for
you get
each person.
no the total amount. So if you were going to get a grand. Oh no, actually, let's give you for each person because then it gives you an incentive to like domino people.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoop Goldberg.
Or
and
to like
into the sea.
properly rugby tackle a great big enclave.
I've got an idea. You
Okay.
could, if you do pick the second one, you could build your whole lifestyle around it and become like a judo instructor. So then every day you're pushing new people to the ground, saying it's a demonstration.
But then if it's a demonstration, it's consensual.
I suppose. Well, you could get around that by being like, one of the rules in this class is always
There's
be ready.
no consent.
No consent to the violence
Imagine
of being
putting
pushed
up
to the ground
flyers for
by
your
just
no consent judo school. Imagine how quickly you would be
shut
arrested.
down in no seconds.
Imagine how little money you'd make with only one other person in your cell to push over
Yeah.
as well. Because that's can't
You could start a prison riot. They'd be all. I think they get beyond pushing people over quite
Yeah,
quickly.
exactly. It'd be a shame to make $5,000 in the first 30 seconds they get shivved. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of potential for a short term,
The volatility
burst of cash. Like I could just have one day where I went around and pushed
pushing
over every
spree.
fucker in Colindale with like some sort of mask on or whatnot.
The Batman mask.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you'd be in the papers as like the new Jack the Ripper.
Yeah. And then I could just not strike again for years. If I pushed over 100 people, that's $100,000 I've made.
It's crazy.
And then I could,
and that's conceivably in a day, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like
very
you could do that in
easy.
an hour.
Yeah.
If you're in like a really busy park or something, you could just go through clotheslining people.
Yeah. And then I wouldn't have to do it again. Whereas to make $100,000 from browsing Reddit, it's going to take a long time. I mean, it was 20 hours, so it's 100. It's just 2,000.
It is quite passive though, because you do that anyway.
Yeah, but 2,000 hours is still quite a long time.
Yeah.
Of consecutive browsing.
If it were more,
okay, here's the thing: is it a continuous timer? Do I have to do an hour?
like a clock in a session.
Yeah, do I have to do an hour to get the $50, or could I do 20 minutes and get $15 or something?
I think,
or does it have to be the hour, but I can clock in, like I could do 20 minutes and it counts as 20 minutes, but I don't get anything until I reach the hour.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay, well, that's reasonable, but it's not great because it means I couldn't spend the tube journey doing 30 minutes and then get $30 for beer money.
No, I think we need to explore the martial arts avenue, because the sweet spot for that one is if people are consenting to something happening, but they don't explicitly consent to being pushed. Or it's less about consent and more that they just wouldn't expect it.
Okay.
So in what situations is it feasible that you could push someone over in the context, but it's not like they haven't just gone there to be pushed over? Something like on a bouncy castle, for example, there's kind of a social contract that you might at any point be pushed over.
But what I'm saying is, I'm assuming that you're the deity in charge of this money.
Of course.
Somehow. Like, are you therefore saying that initial tacit consent from getting on the bouncy castle, like clicking yes on the terms and conditions, doesn't count as consent for the specific act of being pushed
I think
over?
as long as it's still surprising and you haven't forewarned them, because I would be surprised, but there's also like you could sell pushing someone over on a bouncy castle as like, it's fun, push me back. That would be what you'd say, isn't it? Push me right back. No. You'd say push me right back.
What if getting pushed back? What if you got pushed, it cancelled it back?
Or you get 500
It's double
each.
or nothing. Yeah, I suppose. But what I would say is that there are a lot of lines of work where you're always on a bouncy castle.
No, but I'm just like that, but not that. So bouncy castle, ball pits, trampolining, quite a lot of different sports, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like if you're a footballer, you can push
you're a
people
rugby
over
player
a few times before you...
Yeah, rugby is probably the best one in terms of pushing people over.
Yeah. Because it can be part of it, it just can't be the main focus, although there aren't that many sports where pushing people over is the main focus.
No, yeah.
Underutilised as a sporting mechanism so far.
Yeah, I suppose that there's something to that, although I wonder if it would be... if it would become obvious from my real thirst for shoving people over in the game that actually there was something more to
you were
this.
there like 80% of your game was pushing.
I didn't even see the ball.
You were just chasing people who weren't on it with arms outstretched.
I don't my own team. I don't care. The ref, the fans. It'd be quite fun if you were in desperate need to do. That's how you could probably get away with doing it in football. Is like if you're playing parks football, and you just run to chase the ball off the pitch, and you don't quite make it, but you can't slow down. Fall into about 15 people.
That's good.
That's $15,000.
You'd have to build a personality specifically around this idea that
they'd call me Mad Dog Delane, wouldn't they? That's the sort of thing you've got to go
At
for.
least.
But then again, like I say, you run the risk of some real comeuppance. I feel.
Yes, you make yourself a target,
and also I'd have to be quite careful about how I spent the money because I couldn't have a game where I knocked over 18 people and got sent off and then be like, Anyway, lads, come look at the new Lamborghini. it would look really suspicious.
Yeah.
I feel so.
So here's another angle. Performance art. Like, come and see me in the Tate. Something might happen. Might get pushed.
Psych! You're definitely getting pushed. Every single one of you.
That you could frame it as like an artistic experience, and people are like, "Oh, don't tell anyone what happens in the show because it's about that feeling of being pushed." But obviously, you'd hide it in more obfuscated terms. You'd be like, "It's about like the lack of control and about capitalism, like exerting an invisible hand force onto you that ultimately will mean that you're pushed over." And it's just you in a room with a crash mat.
I think,
and like 2 feet stenciled on the floor. And it's
I like that idea.
One spotlight.
I just feel as though like the danger there is that inevitably, like if this were a Black Mirror episode, that would be like my plan.
Yeah,
it'd be okay. I'm going to get a performance art space.
Because then you've got solves the problem of finding new pushies.
Yep, there's always going to be people, and if it's that weird and mad, there'll be articles about it. There'll be debates about it. It'll be very.
It'd be woman bombing off the charts.
Oh yeah, but even if there were controversy, that would only fuel the flames. But I feel like that would be my plan. But obviously, you have to become a famous enough performance artist in order to get to the stage where you can actually get away with that. Yeah. And where you can get a public enough platform to do it. So I feel that the story would be that I keep, the story would be that I keep trying, but the world of art is so brutal that I never actually go anywhere. And so then to make ends meet, I end up having to just go out and shove people in the street. Oh, no. And by the end, I forget the goal. Oh. I'm just caught up in my lust for shoving people over.
The push boy.
Just absolutely love it. I'm basically Slippin' Jimmy, but I've pushed people instead of falling over myself.
Yeah, that's true. There is a danger as well to, like, if you have all the spotlight on you, that's great in the short term, but you can't just do that forever, can you? You can't tour around pushing people. And once you'd acquired loads of money from that, even if it were like a week-long exhibit where you pushed people, you'd be rolling in it. Then, like, you're in a new realm of status and you can't go pushing A-listers.
No, well, also I was thinking, it'd be hard to create a second performance piece that managed to hide the pushing element. If the first time it had been so central.
What about this time?
This time I'm pushing you, but in the dark. And it's about being pushed, but in the dark.
It's about all that stuff, but I imagine it was dark.
And then, after that, it's like being pushed, but in French or something.
What about, Hitchcock? His little thing was to have a cameo in every film. What if you went into another realm, like film or theatre or anything, really any job that is artistic, and instead of like I have to be in the thing, it was his cameo, like his directorial signature is someone gets pushed over at some point, and they don't even need to know that it's always you doing it.
No,
like a Woman in Black thing, where it's like, oh, is it part of the show or is it just in the story? Some character just at some point will be pushed, and people will be like, "That's great," because they'll know what to look for. It'll be on like. There'd be articles like these 11 crazy times that people got pushed over in Declan Delaine productions,
and it turns out they were all him.
Yeah, so they don't. You could reveal that. You could kind of play with our expectations.
How am I hiding that it's me?
You could be in a morph suit
full makeup,
anything.
Yeah, I suppose. I feel like if it was a signature part of all of my plays, and I was missing always at the moment when someone got pushed, people might piece it together. Like I'm just sat opening night in the box, like with the producer of the play and the stage director, and I'm just like, I just got to pop out for a piss.
Time.
and then it's like someone 3 minutes later,
screaming.
Someone just charges on stage, shoves someone over, and then I just come back sort of all out of breath, maybe a bit of morph suit sticking out from under my sleeve. I put my bag down and a balaclava falls out.
Do you think you could sell an experience conversely? Like maybe it's a band or something, or you run a venue where it's like, come and see the show.
Mosh pits.
Nice. That's
mosh
good.
Pits.
There are some dangers.
But it's the perfect.
Because what if someone pushes you and then you can't push anyone?
It's the perfect place. But I think that's the kind of risk we're going to have to take at this point.
To get the big bucks.
Yeah, because I think it's the perfect place where it's the bouncy castle thing of you don't consent to every push, but you've consented to the idea that you probably will get pushed.
Yeah.
And as long as you pick the right gigs, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, that's true. So you can plan like
you'd have to do
a
it like
tour.
festivals though, really, because inside gigs, if you push someone to the ground, that's it. Like,
Yeah, getting kicked out in a big way.
yeah, and you probably acquire something of a reputation.
And the band would like get involved and start hitting you from the stage. Like,
Yeah,
happens
you can't do
sometimes.
that. Like, Run the Jewels or Killer Mike will be in on you in a
Imagine Killer Mike pushing you.
Well, I mean, I told you when we went to go and see them that they were doing a whole thing about, here are the rules for the setup. And it's like, everyone take a deep breath, everyone take a step back, everyone do this. It's like, and don't lay your hands on anyone without their consent. It's like, and I'm speaking especially to all the guys, and they were both talking about it. And then Killer Mike was like, because we will roll through this crowd and get you. And he just like waved his arms in some kind of like swinging motion, like a battering ram. And it was the most terrifying idea
He's
ever.
about
Like
18 feet tall
Yeah.
in my head at least.
and wide, deep. Like,
he's got all the dimensions that you need to push people.
push people
He must be one of the richest pushers there is.
oh yeah, no, he's really.
I've thought of a
finessed
twist
it.
on the idea. What if you accept this $1,000 thing? Because what we've found from all this spitballing is you could make it work.
Yeah.
There are problems associated with each of the ideas, but if you went for a different approach and were like, I'll do this one a bit,
and
that
then
one a
that
bit.
one, I'll lay
you
low for a
could-
couple of
You
years.
could do well. What if when you accept it, a random, there are a few flavours of this, but maybe like another 1,000 people are also bestowed with the same gift.
Right.
And we can play with either they know it or they don't. So maybe they discover it at some point
I like to think that they all know it.
and they all know you.
No, they all know it. We all know each other.
Okay.
And the rule is that if you push someone,
One of the pushers.
if you push one of the pushers, then they're out
Oh.
and their income
Oh,
comes over
that's
to you.
big.
So it's like a last
like
man
PUBG.
standing.
It's like Battle
So
Royale.
you've got this gift, and you could just because there are some people who are just going to go around
Yeah.
pushing innocently and like quietly,
Trying to keep a low
innocently,
profile.
but, and trying to keep a low profile, and others will be hunting everyone else down. So you've always got you've got to look over your shoulder.
Because when you push someone, that's when you're exerting that much energy forward.
You're so vulnerable.
That's the weakest time. So imagine
someone's just gonna
they're just
touch
gonna,
your shoulder
sneak
and that's it.
in. That's
Yeah.
a fuck. That's a
That'd
fun
be
idea.
you, wouldn't it? You
I'd be
sneaky cunt.
I'd be waiting in the wings till you pushed over your last.
You wouldn't.
victim.
No, I think that you'd play it even.
I'd be playing the
in more
long
quality. Yeah, you'd be playing the longest game of all, which is that you would pretend. You would like pretend to be doing it with someone else, and actually let them do all the hard work, and then at the end you just push them.
That would
Wait
be
till
the
they're
last one.
asleep.
When
shove
it's
them.
like the last scene of the film, and we're like, God, we made it.
you seduced them, you've married them,
We did
you're
so
in bed.
well. Bring it in, and then I go for a hug, lean aside, slam them to the floor.
Yeah.
They turn into dust, and I'm done.
And then up pops this deity that bestowed this power and says, "This was a test. You get nothing."
Oh fuck! Reverse Willy Wonka.
You would there be going, "I've done well. I have done."
I've won the.
Well, in
It
a
was
sense,
a test of friendship, and you fucked it. Well, I think we've solved that one.
Yeah.
Look, we had loads of these, but should we get on to email because it's been like 45 minutes?
Yeah, we can get on to email. I'll save my thing.
Yeah, and that was good. Let's do more of those. This is an email from Mark referring to, well, it says, only the second most disturbing episode is the subject line.
Oh, yes.
Isaac and Declan. Amazingly, your review of Sean Penn's book, Bob Honey Who Just Do Stuff, is only your second most disturbing episode, which, considering the absolute bilge it was, Penn's book, not your episode, is perhaps a minor achievement. It is hard to imagine that any other written work could be more disturbing. However, that dubious accolade has to go to the Christmas special that was the Thor fan fiction. With a sign-off, may you keep scraping the bottom of the literary barrel. Regards, Mark.
Well, Mark, we
will.
promise absolutely to
That's
do that.
very much in our purview, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that is what we're
scraping
here for.
every barrel we can find
Yeah.
for content.
The very, very bottom.
Sometimes you think you found the bottom, but actually that's just like a sort of silt.
There's
that
like
you
a
have
thick
to just
layer of scum on the bottom of
hoof
the
jelly.
barrel.
Yeah, that you have to.
That's it.
Hoof jelly and bee goo.
And sometimes
Congealed.
actually inside the base of the barrel, like
People
halfway
forget to
through.
check there.
Yeah, you know.
At their own peril.
Dreadful.
Look, well, that's been an episode. Let's tell people how they can get in touch with the show. I'd like to hear some Would You Rathers. I imagine our listenership has a warped enough perspective on life to have some good ones.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, send those in, I was going to say. So if you'd like to send those in, you can send them via the website, shame.city/contact.
Do a subject line, Would You Rather, please, so I know how to sort them.
Or you can email us, tass@shame.city.
Yeah.
You could send them to us on Twitter. Either slide into the DMs. Are our DMs open? I'm sure our DMs
They better
are
have
open.
be.
Yeah. Or you can tweet them publicly, either to the show, at That's a Shamecast.
Should we make a hashtag for them?
Hashtag
TAS. Would you... No,
TASYW.
What you would rather. We'll workshop that, all right,
yeah,
guys?
yeah, exactly.
Look for the tweet.
You know, there are no bad ideas in brainstorming. So, yes, either to the show at That's a Shamecast or to ourselves personally, Isaac at IsaacBD or myself at Cynical Declan.
What else?
I mean, they can post on the bloody Patreon feed, can't they?
Oh,
Can they do a post or can they just comment?
No, I think they can actually. I don't know. I've never done that on any of the Patreons that I support.
Either way,
Give it a go.
See what happens. Look. And those who are not already patrons, if you'd like to have a look, if you have anything at all that you could spare and send our way, we would be extremely grateful. We're in the process of booking a small trip.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully...
For the show?
Yes.
Yeah, it made it sound like we're just going on holiday. So if you anything you could send over. No, we're doing our annual Thorpe Park visit.
Yes.
But with a different flavour this time. We're going to be pushing everyone the fuck over. It's going to be big.
Yes, patreon.com/shamecity.
Yes.
That's
about all.
Bit of Wommy Bomb.
Oh, of course. We haven't
Forget
heard that from Mary about how it
WYD.
was.
More like, I'm not spelling it, but Wommy Bomb. Yeah.
What was WYD supposed to be? Would you rather?
Yeah, would you rather? Would you do it?
If. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Tell a friend. Pass on the good news of That's a Shame. If you feel, that you don't have any friends who would appreciate the content, then that's a sign to just get new ones.
Maybe make one, yeah.
Yeah, it's not even like make one. It's just re-educate the ones you have.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's probably the more efficient thing
Yeah,
to do.
definitely.
It can be hard to find new people that are tolerable.
And obviously, if you're like Isaac, maybe you just look to one of the other friendship sectors.
You just flick between them and adopt a whole new personality.
Yeah, you put on your new face, and there you are.
Oh, lovely. Well, look, this has been episode 78, because I said it the wrong one in the last episode. Sorry about that. I've been Isaac. You've been
Declan.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, necessities of life will come to you.